And they have to make me full time. Like it won't happen. Unless there's a weird scheduling thing and then they swap something out.
Well, hopefully that's the case.
I don't know anybody here that's good. I haven't been here long enough to have a lot of faculty friends. So I'll leave this up for you guys about that. But I'm actually going to tell myself to share the screen the right way and then leave it up there. Share. Okay. Now we'll go back. Or take it as COD. I have a guy right now. This is my lifespan there that I met here.
It's just, it's like working and it's just too far.
It's whatever works for you. Just everybody who walked in late probably either email me or talk to me on break so I can catch attendance. I know you're right. I know you're next. I know you guys are here. Just I don't want to forget. This is chapter 15, by the way. The disorders. So anyone have this happen? Because something like 97% of us have some sort of anxiety disorder, like low level anxiety. Thank you, COVID-19. Because what happened? We had to go hide from the invisible monster for 2, 3 years or so. How is it good for anyone's psyche? So anything that you feel anxious about, now you want to be careful because you can get into stuff like meta or mega worry. Meta is more of like the clinical term. Mega worry is just another easy way to remember it. Meta worry. And you could also think about it like AKA mega worry. You're staying up late at night and you worry about worrying, that's meta worry. Trying to stave off the impending doom. 97% of what we all worry about never, ever fucking happens ever. Only a 3% chance you're smiling. You're like, this is me. You probably have adult responsibilities. That's why this might happen, right? But it doesn't mean it's going to help. The idea, which is challenging, is to have a very healthy coping mechanism. But you're a sales guy, so you might worry about your numbers. I get that. I don't like driving in the rain or the dark. I'm afraid of hitting invisible people that I can't see. Not invisible like schizophrenia, invisible like they wore black clothes and it's dusk and they're practically invisible and I can't see them. That's where the systemic anxiety comes from. I have like zero anxiety driving in the weather because I've driven it for like ever. I don't really like driving in this weather, but I do. I'm scared. Anxiety, by the way, and well, anxiety and excitement are the same physiologically speaking. It's just how you interpret it. So, example, things like stage fright. That applies to anybody in this room. I used to have that. Now it's flipped. I've been counter conditioned. I should get a thrill out of being up here. There could be 2,000 of you guys in the room. It would be fine. Even if you try to stump me, because if you really stump me, I'll just say I'll get back to you. I'll figure out what the answer is. But the first time I taught, a bunch of doctoral students, 2/3 of them have probably taught, so I'll have a master's degree, probably taught a college course for a 6-hour class, not 3. First 90 minutes, incredibly nerve-wracking. So So we have phobias, something that you're specifically afraid of. Like you said, as we're walking through this, if anyone's brave to talk about any of these things that apply to yourself or anybody you know, feel free to share just to sort of enrich our understanding. So you might have a social phobia, fear of being in a place socially. I have a specific one. I don't like it where I can't see where the road goes. I have this incredibly irrational fear of there being a hole in the road I'm going to drive into that I can't see because it's around a curve or a hill. I know that's absurd and that we all pay taxes and that it would be clearly marked. But if I can't see where the road's going, it freaks me the hell out. I'll still drive and face my fear, but I don't like it. There's this bridge in Coronado Bridge in San Diego where you go way up and you can't really see where the island is. And until you crest the hill over the ocean, I mean, it's the bay, totally get anxiety every time I'm going over that bridge. As soon as I can see that the road goes down to the island and I'm not going to just drive off the bridge, I'm good. You're like, I see you, right? Maybe a little bit.
That's beautiful. Both ways. I mean, I've gotten it in my job, like managers. I'll be like, what if they say this? And they'll be like, you're overthinking it. I'll be like, okay, you're right. And half the time, maybe they wouldn't. Phobias with driving, you know, like when I drove a lot for work, is the same way. Like just not seeing things or just having that those weird like optical illusions when the road's so flat that it looks like water puddle or something.
Oh, that's the heat rising off the pavement. Yeah.
Those like sometimes throw you off. You're like, what the heck? Like you think that there's something on the road. You're like,
And there's not.
This one phobia I had when I was little, like whenever I was home alone with my sister, like I always like tried to like turn around and I always thought if someone was like watching me, is that like just a phobia of something? Like phobia of just people watching in general.
Might be a little bit of that.
Mhm.
that was like when I was a kid and like you turn off the lights in the basement and you try to run upstairs as fast as possible.
Yeah.
There's somebody behind you.
There's nothing there but your brain. And thinks that's the idea of magical thinking too. Like just by thinking about the fear or the thing that the thing's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've met a few adults that are afraid of the dark. I'm like, it's just the dark, guys. Like,
But it's the same thing you, it's like I can't see in front of me.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm stepping on and I'm tripping on.
Yeah. like I said, I don't like driving in rain and dark. What do you got next?
Very phobia of driving over bridges.
Yeah. I think it's fear of death. But then you think about things like fear hierarchy. I went to Great America with some friends like a month ago. And I was really scared of roller coasters when I got there on Friday. By Saturday night, man, I was going on the Batman upside down and everything. And it was the thrill and the adrenaline rush that made it just fine. Or like being a skier, if there's any snowboarders or skiers in the room, getting to the top of a hill, like a double, triple black diamond, and then being like, holy shit, I'm going to die. And then being like, you know what? I got this. I've been skiing for decades, and that's fine. So they run kind of alongside each other. I do think things like cyberbullying and regular bullying drive social phobias, though. I think that's definitely a factor. You get scuba diving, going under the water, breathing underwater, 20 feet down, didn't scare me at all. It's like, that's exciting. And you can totally die. You run out of air, but it was fine.
That's in the very doesn't like deep sea dive.
Oh.
Really can't see like it's like dark but it's the side of them, it's just like super blue.
Oh, that's because there's no sunlight down there.
Like
It's the fear of the unknown. That drives a lot of our fears. No problem flying on a plane with things like acrophobia, but like I went to the top of the John Hancock. You do this, the tilt, and about 50% was like, I'm going to fall through the window. Holy shit! And about 50% was like, this is so freaking cool. And they had signs about how much cement there was and how safe it was while you're in the line, but it was still freaking me out. But I have some friends that have young kids and they're getting on these rides, and I'm like, okay, if the children get on the rides, I can get on the rides. Or did you have something you're thinking about, or just taking it in?
That's a certain thing. I was gonna ask that, like, I mean, I still wouldn't, I would say I still have a pretty good fear of heights, but I enjoy roller coasters and that John Hancock experiences. Again, it was exciting, but again, I think about just living in high rises, or God forbid, you're ever somewhere high up and like, there's only like a waist high fence or something, and I'm
That freaks me out.
nerve-wracking, you know?
Like what? Snow?
No, just like anything that's like low, like off the cliff, like let's.
You could
I
fall.
haven't been there, but like the Grand Canyon, you know,
Right.
the ledges are just really like a waist high fence, maybe a little bit higher, but still it just seems like kind of like that cliff edge. But I'm like, hey, roller coasters, crazy heights, fun, but like being right next to the ledge, not really.
Yeah. I think I might have shared this before when we're not talking about motivation. I remember being strapped in this heavy blanket in Cancun, zip lining, but like Superman. I said, "Am I gonna die today?" He goes, "No, you are not, my friend. Someday you will die." And then he pushes me, and I had to sign a waiver that said I could fall to my death if I ever water and freeze, like rivers and stuff. But it's pretty awesome. After about the first like few seconds, you're like, I'm not gonna fall, and then it's incredibly exhilarating. Kind of like you were saying, like,
After you didn't have a heart attack on the way.
yeah. So you have to have at least 2 out of 5 situations where you have these. Agoraphobia is similar. Claustrophobia, was pretty straightforward. My mom's ex-husband, after my dad, he had a fear of wide open spaces. He could freak him out if he was in too big of an area. And that's the thing, somewhere in the DSM-5, I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head, so you don't have all 200 of them memorized, but there's actually a fear of like being in too big of a space. Because, right? Because it's not enclosed. Yeah. He got really freaked out when they were returning the vacuum cleaner because how noisy it was in the parking lot. I thought everybody was watching. Maybe it was more of a social phobia. I think that's something different. But contextually, it could be. I don't mean like the definition. I just mean like it's more like situationally. Because if you feel like you're going to be outdoors in a environment where you can't escape from it, that would make sense.
These like 5 specific situations that they ask you about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering what that meant, in at least 2 of 5 situations.
So like if you're like I'm having it should be happening enough, like frequently enough. Because I feel like if you ever been to like for example, you go to like a hotel and you walk up to like the window and like there's glass and then like you're like 15 floors up. Well, if you look down and think about it too much, you'll forget anybody out. Does that mean you didn't necessarily have this? I think that's why there's that context, that 2 out of 5 situations. Like describe me the situation so we know if it's really fear. See, when but see, a roller coaster in the name, roller coaster, like it's supposed to coast to a stop if something happens. And we kind of know this, right? Yeah. What do you got?
I was gonna say, cause I'm afraid of heights. I don't like roller coasters or flying, but I always thought it was funny, because I used to jump out of airplanes for a living. But I always tell everyone, like, jumping out of a plane to me was a million times less scary than like going on a roller coaster.
Well, that's interesting.
And I don't know how to explain it. It's just like you're so high in the air when you're kind of falling, you don't realize how high you are. So by the time you do realize how high you are, it's like you're already at the ground.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, I'm still blown away by that guy that was it 5 or 10 years ago now? It was a while ago. He jumped out of a
Oh, the
plane
Red Bull guy with no
with
parachute.
with no parachute into a net and lived.
Yeah, it was the Red Bull guy.
Yeah. I can't do the whole bungee jumping thing. The idea of like that sudden jerk at the end. But I mean, I guess you know what it probably was is like the amygdala, like that fear. And by the time you're like even thinking about it, you're like, well, I haven't died yet, or I just gotta procedurally maybe pull my parachute. Skydiving is definitely on the bucket list, but jumping's not.
Yeah.
Skydiving has a 0.0001 or something failure rate. Mirage is 50%, by the way, so just keep that in mind. If your future partner will skydive with you, maybe that's the person you marry. Just saying. Panic disorder. Panic attacks occur frequently, enough to cause a person difficulty in adjusting to daily life. This might feel like a heart attack. It's a sudden onset of symptoms. Then I hear stories of people skydiving their first time and like their parachute doesn't open. I'm like, man, I don't want to die of something fundamentally stupid. That sounds like no fun.
Yeah, we had a reserve just in case.
Isn't there usually two and most of the time isn't it one and then like second
Yeah, I
cord
mean-
just in case?
Yeah, we always have the reserve in the front and our manual in the back, so. And I think out of like 34 jumps, I only had to pull my reserve in one time.
Oh. Was it like SEAL stuff? What was it that you did?
No, I was in the 82nd Airborne Division.
Oh.
So yeah, I used to jump out of the planes for like severe airfields and stuff.
Oh wow. That's cool. Then we got Germany in World War II. I robbed a bunch of fake paratroopers that weren't even real people, so they went over by the other. And it was just a bunch of dummies. And then we jumped out of a plane somewhere else and
I think the coolest place we jumped into is we jumped into island in Africa. And then we met with the Gabonese and then like they boated us back to like the mainland and we did some training with the French Legion out there.
wow. I have a little bit of anxiety about getting up on time. I've really never blown it except for maybe years ago, like at a retail job once. But I'm always a little afraid that I'm not going to hear the alarm. I never screw this up. I'm very responsible. I just have a little bit of anxiety about what if I don't hear the alarm?
I'm one of those people who up like 10 alarms.
Do they too? And that's like your coping mechanism for the anxiety, right? Well, there's 3 or 4 alarms. I'm going to hear one of them, right? Generalized anxiety disorder, excessive anxieties and worries occur more days than not for at least 6 months. So like 4 out of 7 days, like more frequently would be a way we look at it. Everybody has some worry. Stress is the silent killer, by the way. So it's hard not to have any stress, but try to have as little as possible. I'm sure all the meetings, the stand-up meetings you probably have, Jesus, don't really help things in a sales job. Because I know we had those. I'm assuming you had those too. They're like, predict the future. And you're like, I don't have a crystal ball. So a few people recently have been canned like tuna at my day job. And I'm like, what's going on? Am I going to get the axe? I'm not that stressed out about it because I have this too, but I don't really want to suddenly lose the normal employment because this is more seasonal. So
Sales jobs can be held in by, I mean, more often than not, but one season could be great. It's a
Yeah.
great month. That's really dry. You better have saved up during the good months.
So, yeah, especially if it's like straight commission or more commission than hourly. So here's some examples. Stage fright. You're like, yeah, that's me. Second ago. By the way, never stage fright is a really good idea because invariably at some point in your career, someone will come up to you like a manager and be like, you're gonna speak publicly in like 5 minutes or in a week or two. I know it happened to me a few times. It was actually at a sales job, like you and you're gonna go present. My VP once said, you guys are gonna talk about what you do every day in front of 200 other faculty. My coworker is Mr. I already earned the doctor title, so I really can't fuck this one up. Because they're not announcing me like that. So I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, all right, tell them something funny, try to get them to laugh, and then try to tell the story. And it worked. But it's a systematic desensitization. So specific phobias, fear of animals, thunderstorms. I used to have a fear of flying over water, large bodies of water, which is absurd because I like being on the plane floats. My fear was going into the ocean at 500 miles an hour diagonally. That was
The torpedo.
like a torpedo. That's what's scaring me. I went to Spain and Germany like about a year and a half ago. You're over water for like 11 hours, or at least 9. And nothing happened both times. So it's fine. I know aerodynamics work. I just didn't want to crash into the ocean. Didn't feel like giving God a warm hug, So in that context, and one day, but like I'm 100%, right? So then panic disorder, this is like what you might experience. Situations, objects are not really problems. Agoraphobia using public transportation, just some examples of how that might manifest. OCD. Anyone familiar with this one? A little bit? Any stories? Anyone brave? What do you got, Larry?
Where I would have to be in order in my kitchen, in the kitchen. I had to put like knives in a certain order. It was so bad. I had to like go to a therapy for it to like stable it.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
I've never been diagnosed, but every time I go into the gym and somebody has taken the barbells and put them in the wrong order, I have to spend time to put them back.
If I go into a house that's not my own and there's pictures that aren't straight and I can get away with it, hell yeah, I'm so straightening that picture. It bugs the crap out of me.
Well, see, I don't care if I can.
I know that's like a totally socially wrong to do that in someone else's house, but if I can get away with fixing their pictures, I'm going to touch their and straighten it. It just bugs me.
You gotta do it going
Like discreetly on the DL.
No, you gotta straighten it and then look at them and just be like,
Yeah.
like,
Realistically,
this is your problem.
Yeah.
realistically, because if you had a guest at your house and you caught him straighten out your picture, I'd be like, hey, thank you.
Well, yeah. I can always tell if it's not perfectly straight. Or sometimes it'll manifest like you might wash your hands a lot, you might check the door a bunch. So it's an obsession and compulsion. The obsession is like the thing that you're concerned about. The compulsion is like how you cope or deal with it. You're like, I don't like stuff out of order. The compulsion is you rearrange the barbells at the gym. Do you have an example or are you just taking that next?
Somebody touches it and moves it on place, they have to sit there and make sure in order. Or
Yeah.
with needles, they have to make sure all the needles in the row in certain order. Because it might bother me.
And there's probably a safety aspect to it too, but still like it's got to be neat and orderly. And being organized is not OCD. It's when you have the obsession and the compulsion. So it could be OCD, or it could just be like you might just be neat. It just depends on kind of like the severity of it is a way to think about it. Yeah.
Sometimes I'll press it once and it only locks like my driver's side door. I have like that too, it's only locked it twice. That's it.
I do press that a few times. I know pressing it once because my car's like pretty new. I've had it for a couple years now. But I will press it multiple times because I feel like it's more securely locked. It doesn't even make sense. It's really that's the idea of magical thinking. Like it's kind of like an absurd belief. I have a ex-friend. We'll see if we become friends again because she was crazy out of line. But she actually will walk X number of steps in the sidewalk, and if the number she gets in her head is not correct that she wants, she'll rewalk it. She like has a bachelor's degree and close to a master's. Took a lot of classes in sociology. She's like definitely a sharp individual, but she's got this thing with like steps. Or so someone walks out from like a grocery store at night and sees like, or ordering the day and sees like a baby diaper like at the back wall. And then they're afraid they're going to get contaminated from germs, like there's little tiny tanks coming in to attack them. And you can have this conversation with that person about how absurd that idea is. And they'll be like, yep, but the magical thinking is still a very real fear. And they never even set foot next to the baby diaper that wasn't clean or something. So acute stress disorder, resulting from exposure to major traumatic stressor symptoms include anxiety, dissociation, recurring nightmares, sleep disturbances, problems in concentration, and moments in which people seem to relive the event in dreams and flashbacks, lasting as long as a month after the event. And this is not PTSD. PTSD is when it's over a month.
PTSD, both in the civilian and military world. Um, may not happen for up to 6 months after the traumatic event. Women are at higher risk for PTSD. Doesn't mean men can't get it, just statistically speaking, there are more women that have PTSD than men.
My boyfriend has that from his accident.
That would make sense. Anyone ever get like acute? The when we just talked about the acute stress disorder, like ever get into a car accident and you don't want to drive? Or like the first,
There's something about all
yeah,
that.
or like the first couple weeks, you're like, holy shit, I had no control. I might get in another accident. Then you have to, but you have to keep driving because of life and adulting. And then you get over it from because you have to.
Yeah.
But those first couple days, at least after a car accident, you're a little like shaky, just a little sketchy, right?
But I do have the.
Do you want to tell us any more or just that you have it? It's up to you. Oh, okay. This is actually a common one. Like a lot of people do have PTSD. I mean, like if you turn on the news, you might get PTSD. And I'm not being that sarcastic. Like, are you watching the news? Like, it's pretty bad. Planes are landing upside down. Civil rights are eroding. I mean, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, they diagnosed me with PTSD after my time in Iraq. So they put me on medication for it.
See, I told him.
Yeah, I quit taking medication. I felt like for me it didn't. I mean, it helped, but it also zoned out like a lot of other feelings as well. So like I'd rather just deal with it.
You don't feel like yourself.
Yeah.
Like it's like for me, the medication made me like emotionless. We're like,
That's probably not real healthy.
yeah. So it's like things that like should have made me happy, like didn't make me happy. Things that should have made me sad, like didn't make me sad. So it's like, I don't like this.
I used to take like anxiety and depressant, like depression medication, like maybe 10 years ago. And I also stopped taking it because I didn't,
Like who you were.
it was weird. You just feel like a zombie or something.
And some of the side effects of antidepressant medicines are more depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel right. But things like psilocybin,
Up your nose.
Yeah.
Up your nose.
Or maybe that's the
Yeah.
trick. They try to make you feel like shittier so that
be
you
more.
like stop bitching about what you were already going through.
I kind of avoided treatment for. Well, 13.
Yeah.
I self-medicated, so.
No, it's better with a professional. Your statistical chances of self-medication are pretty low of getting it right. About in terms of regulating the chemicals. I understand how people do that, and there's people that will absolutely use things like marijuana or alcohol to try to balance themselves out. But a lot of times it usually makes the mental illness worse. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily help with it. Like,
And
could
then the
it?
abuse comes in.
Yeah.
Like they
Like-
just
like-
start
like-
abusing whatever
yeah.
they're doing.
Like, could it help? Sure, maybe. But the thing is like moderation. And it probably isn't a healthy coping mechanism, especially alcohol, because that's a really dangerous drug, really, when you think about it.
Pills were really common, which is, was one of the things I didn't want. But more recently, I have a friend who just got her psychology license. Psychiatry, yeah, psychology license. And she wrote her dissertation on PTSD.
Oh,
And how it was being treated in that, mostly through pills. And what she found out by talking to a lot of people with PTSD was that one of the most therapeutic things that they did for themselves was help younger soldiers in similar situations.
that's cathartic.
It was cathartic because you were taking somebody who you view kind of as a younger you and fixing things for them.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense because you're helping them. So then it's helping you work through your own stuff. That makes a ton of sense.
It helped a lot. I started trying to help my brother, and his friend is the same age as him with a lot of the problems that I have in their age. And it doesn't even have anything to do with the PTSD or being a soldier or anything. It was just taking care of somebody else, something else. We'll call it cure, but get help.
So psychodynamic explanations point to expressed urges and desires that are trying to surface. Creating anxiety is controlled by the abnormal behavior. So almost in a sense, the abnormal behavior is like trying to deal with the anxiety. Behaviorists believe this sort of behavior is learned through both positive and negative reinforcement. Cognitive psychologists believe that excessive anxiety comes from illogical, irrational thought processes, like not thinking about it accurately. So you're processing things. Like you might think about things like everybody's out to get me. Maybe they're not. Or maybe they are, but you shouldn't think about it, right?
I have a friend like that, but I guess it was more so like, I mean, she hasn't got divorced or anything yet, but like she doesn't live with her husband anymore, and she hasn't for like the last 3 or 4 years.
Just get a divorce.
No, I know, but
If it's like 6 months to a year, they're not, there's no point.
yeah, no.
In my opinion, I don't want to sound judgy.
Well, it's just because he's been like in another state all this time and he is better off. Like she didn't have the means to like hire a lawyer or anything to be able to do it. But literally since they've gotten separated, she swears that like he has people following her, watching her and like doing all this. So she's like paranoid all the time, thinking that he has like people trying to like stalk her, even though he's not here.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know why, but
There's no basis in it. Yeah. That's this.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like they had a rough relationship, but at the same time, like he's in another state, so I don't know. But this is his hometown. So, but yeah, she was claiming for a while that he had people following her, that there was somebody like looking for her, like trying to do something. So. Would that be considered like paranoia or?
Yeah. Feels like paranoia.
I mean, we all to a certain degree have a fear of being observed without our knowledge. Which I think comes from, the desire not to be hunted.
That's an interesting perspective, Kurt. Yeah.
I've heard that before.
I've gone to like, well, probably like a bar and I've heard people in the back. I'm like, no, they're not talking about. They're probably not. But when sometimes you hear stuff, you're like, are they? But
You gotta tell yourself, like, well, wait, why would they be talking?
then I have no idea who know these people. Although
And even if they are,
they were talking some trash because I did hear them say they didn't like doc. They're like, who the hell is this Dr. Mac guy? Because I kept playing a bunch of Latin music on the touch tones, and I hadn't introduced myself to anybody, and I wasn't dressed fancy or anything. And they were like, "This is Dr. Mac asshole," and I just kind of chuckled to myself. But that was the one time. Other than that, I'm sure they weren't. Yeah, they're usually more interested in themselves, not the people around them, generally speaking. Does anyone do any of these things? Do we have any examples? Or know anybody who does any of these things? And you're like thinking about work right now. He says, maybe.
I've done all of them.
All of them. But this is, if you're aware of them, it can lead to managing your own mental health better. Mental health is incredibly important. For the love of God, do not just work yourself to death when you get out there.
I feel like for me, all or none thinking is a big one. Where it's like, if one thing isn't good, even though like the rest of it was, I'm like, I failed it. Like I didn't do it good because I messed up one thing.
And that's the imposter syndrome. Telling yourself you're not good enough when you, in fact, are.
That a lot. And I think that's kind of just like the military,
Sure.
what they instill in you, because it's always like if you mess up, period. So I think that's just something that like I've never been able to get over. And I was in the military for 10 years after turning 18, so it's kind of like everything that I grew up knowing.
Oh,
I've
sure.
only been out in the military for less than a year now, so
Okay.
it's kind of one of those things that like I'm trying to like push the military over here, come back this way, but it's a little hard.
It's 10 years of conditioning. I almost went in and they offered me some really good jobs, but I was like, no. So my parents didn't want me to, as an only child, like die. So, but then I think about it because like one of the offers was like nuclear physicist, and I'm like, that not that I don't love this, but I was like, bet I'd make more money. Magnification, like spinning things out in your head. I didn't hit my number, so now I'm gonna get written up. Now I'm gonna get fired. Now I'm sorry. Did that hit it all with you, Jesus?
I think minimization is also something I struggle with because for me, like my wife, she'll tell me a lot of times, and that's where I think like I can see it the most is when it comes to other people's problems, I tend to think like that's not a real problem. Like I can't something that is so small to someone sometimes in my head, or that's even
Yeah.
saying it right there, like something that I think
Yeah.
is small. Like I can't wrap my head around the fact that it's like a big idea for someone.
I get that. I mean, sometimes I hear things that I'm like, that is a first world problem. Like
Yeah.
an ex of mine, she's Latin from Venezuela, and she would tell me stories about problems in her country, and then I hear Americans complain. I'm like, that's not even really a problem. Like, oh, your electric start didn't work for your car. Like, walk outside. I mean, that's just a small example, but I've heard stuff. When I was a younger professor, I had a student complain about writing a 5-page paper, and I was like, that is a first world problem. And I wasn't being insensitive, but like that is real. Like, come on, you write a 5-page paper. Like that's really not a big deal. But some of that could be egocentrism too. The tendency to focus on yourself, or maybe your family unit, you and your wife, and if you guys have kids, that could just be the family culture and the importance of like your village or your circle of people around you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now that you say kids, that's something that like I've had to change because like my son's 2. So like obviously like everything's a big deal to a 2-year-old. So it's like
Sure.
now I have to like put myself in his situation. I'm like, okay, let me see. This is a big, like, kind of like empathize with him.
Yeah.
So I feel like in a way that's kind of helped a little bit.
Yeah. Magnification's definitely like, oh, it's the end of the world.
Like, I think like some situation went wrong because of like earlier this went wrong, and it was like all in a domino effect.
Oh, your pattern, yeah. I can see that. Yeah. It's one that is going to be a pattern, but I don't think you'd be wrong to kind of flip that a little bit. I can see how that could still be overgeneralization. But I think we all the days where like it's just on or where it just isn't on. Like you get up and then like something happens and something else happens, and then by the end of the day, you're like, "What's wrong with you? I just want a tropical smoothie to be together." And you're like, the person's like, I'm sorry, but like you just had like five other things happen that day. Or a day where like the universe is just nice to you and you're like, how did that thing even happen? So I mean, I won't really fly right now, but I think I have some pretty good reasons. I don't really fly right now. We got planes taking off and blowing up. We got not enough air traffic controllers. Like, I'll fly again, but I'm dealing with some of this right now. Absolutely dealing with some of that. 6 months to a year, sure, I'll fly again. Maybe not over Christmas break. Maybe not. Although flying is still really safe. 2 years, 6 months. No, like in like a year, like 6 months to a year. I'll probably fly again. I don't know if I want to fly anytime soon though. I do wish my day job had cops, but though that scares me a little bit. They're tiny and they have no police. Or I watch the news, something bad happens at a school, and then I'm like, I have to drive to a school and work. That's fun. Biological explanations, chemical imbalances, things like overactive amygdala, that's that fear, flight, freeze response, genetics, cultural variations. And if anyone knows these or wants to look them up, maybe they can tell us what some of these cultural variations are. I know, I think Tenjin, I think that was Japanese, I'm pretty sure. Ataque de Nervios is Spanish, I think. I think,
What's attack of nerves?
yeah. Our nervous
Like being
attack.
nervous.
Yeah. Did you guys meet in the military? You and your wife?
No, she was actually my best friend's sister. So
Oh wow. I was trying to just do the math. I was like, okay, you're up and out 2 year old. So yeah.
no, she I was friends with her brother in high school, and then
Oh wow.
I was in the military for about 4 years. We kind of fell off just because I was in North Carolina. But
Fair.
I had a wedding to go to, and she reached out on social media and we started talking. And she was my date to the wedding, and then after that, it was.
Kind of the beginning of, okay, sure, that's cool.
That was actually funny because when I came home, I was sitting on her mom's couch. And her friend thought that I had came to like visit him because he walked in. He was like, "Oh, hey, what are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I'm actually here for your sisters." Oh.
Nice. If dissociative disorders, disorders in which there is a break in conscious awareness, memory, or the sense of identity, or some combination. There's dissociative amnesia, loss of memory for personal information, either partial or complete. Dissociative fog, travel away from familiar surroundings with amnesia for the trip and possible amnesia for personal information. Or dissociative identity disorder, DID. Disorder occurring when a person seems to have two or more distinct personalities within one body. Split is not an accurate representation of this, okay? At all. You've seen the movie. It's not accurate. Hollywood went too far. It's the thing at the end. The personalities are not so strong that you can shoot the person out of self-defense and have them still live. That's not really a thing at all, ever.
Or morph your body.
Or morph your body. Yeah, because he was like the Hulk, like that's not happening. I had to watch the movie alone because one of my students here was like, "Well, how do you know?" I'm like, "I've read enough about it." I'm like, "Well, how do you know?" So then I watched it, and then I had to like go to sleep at times. I really do horror films, so. But I couldn't. I wanted to speak more knowledgeably to it, so I had to force myself to watch it. So there's a really great film if we have time. I don't think tonight it'd be maybe our last class period if we have time. It's about an hour and a half or so. It's called Three Faces of Eve. It's a black and white film. It's based on someone in the like 1960s having dissociative identity disorder. There's a lot of skepticism in the psychological community about this last one because it's pretty rare. So then the skepticism is like, is the person faking?
Have you ever seen the movie The Talented Mr. Ripley?
No.
Okay, so I was wondering what that guy had, 'cause, yeah,
I
I don't know how to really talk about it without spoiling it. So.
Talented Mr. Ripley. I could put it on the agenda for something to watch in the next week. So maybe I could talk to you about it next week. The DSM-5, which is in the announcements, will answer that by looking up the criteria, or like guessing at like 4 or 5 of them, then reading through and be like, oh, they have this, and then we would know. So identity and the talented Mr. Ripley.
It's
Okay.
one of those movies where it's like a mystery.
I have a Fire Stick, so I can usually get anything for free.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't know how accurate.
like. I can't even remember who the actors were in The Talented Mr. Ripley. I think it was like Matt Damon and wasn't Matt Damon? I gotta look it up now. I think it was made in the 90s. Yeah, Matt Damon's the main person. Yeah,
Okay.
it's about him.
It's always interesting how Hollywood likes to run with a little seed of truth with mental illness. It's not always done accurately. And I think Rayman did a good job, but there's that one Hypnotic. That was not very realistic at all. That you could hypnotize someone just by thinking about it. That's not really
It
true.
was American Psycho too.
Yeah.
which I still don't understand that movie. I don't know if he like dreamt all that happened or if he actually did it.
What's that one? Donnie Darko's good for
Oh.
like for schizophrenia.
Have you seen that study about schizophrenia that they've been doing recently where they're
Mm.
saying that like heavy use of marijuana might actually increase the
That's not-
chances of
no,
developing
That's not
schizophrenia?
true. And here's why. Because I heard it because I looked into it recently too.
So you did hear about that study?
They said so. Here's the thing. Schizophrenia has been about like this the last like several decades in terms of the amount of people that have it. 1% of the country has it. There's really been no spike in schizophrenia. Marijuana and the quality of marijuana since like the 70s has gone like that. That doesn't make sense because if that was the case, schizophrenia would also be spiking. So the idea now, what can it do that's bad? If someone has a likelihood of mental illness, sure, it might bring it out, but being like a cause, not so much. A teenager smoking marijuana, bad idea because it can make the hippocampi smaller, which can affect memory. But once you're an adult, there's not a lot of risk with marijuana, except you might. It's not nothing that has smoke is good for you, and you might pass out, eat a lot of food. CBD is incredibly healthy. If you want to feel like you're in your 20s always, eat a bunch of CBD.
Well, you lose all your teeth too from smoking because you get bone loss.
Yeah.
And that holds your teeth in, so.
Yeah.
That goes away because of smoking.
Yeah.
and You ain't gonna have no teeth.
Edibles.
Edibles, like a gummy.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be less risk. But that's not like a belief though that it's like could cause. You don't want to try to self-medicate, and then they could bring it out more, but it wouldn't actually cause the schizophrenia because if it actually caused it, there would be more cases of schizophrenia along with the quality of marijuana because it used to just. I mean,
Yeah.
it's regulated. The quality of the weed from like the 70s, 80s, 90s is definitely higher in the 2020s. So if that's all going to be affect the person more, then schizophrenia would have to increase, and it really hasn't. There's also a neurotransmitter later in life that gets blocked. It can cause things like Alzheimer's. Marijuana prevents that blockage, so you may not remember the last 5 minutes, but at least you know who you are. Just saying. Psychodynamic explanations point to repression of memories, seeing dissociation as a defense mechanism against the anxiety. Cognitive and behavioral explanations see dissociative disorders as a kind of avoidance learning. Can also involve things like shaping, like molding, shaping. Did we have any psych majors this term? Anybody? That's a psych major? Or just, it's just a gen ed? No, okay.
Hmm.
Gen ed, that's fine. Just it's getting towards the end of the semester, someone's thinking about psych being a major, they wanted to get some insight to offer that, but if we have no psych majors, then I get that, that's cool. So some more causes, biological explanations, point to lower than normal activity levels in the areas responsible for body awareness in people with dissociative disorders, depersonalization, derealization disorder, dissociative disorder, in which sufferers feel detached and disconnected from themselves, their bodies, and their surroundings. All causes. So affect, in psychological terms, is emotion or mood. Mood disorders in which mood is severely disturbed. Major depressive disorder, severely depressed. Mood that comes on suddenly, it has no external cause. Anyone affected by SAD? Yeah, sad. Yes. That's just a yes, not there's not a story, it's just a yes. Okay, so one of the treatment options is actually light therapy because there's less light during the seasons like right now. So we can take this a step further. Vacation would actually be a great way in a warm climate to regulate mental health because of light therapy with more light is a treatment for this. Going to the sunny beaches of the Dominican Republic or Cancun during Christmas break would also be you treating mental health because it'd be more sunlight. How's the energy? Should we take a break or should we wait till like 8? What?
So I'm good for it.
All right, what? Keep going.
Right out.
All right. So we have bipolar disorder, periods of mood that may range from normal to manic, with or without episodes of depression. You have things like a manic episode, a period of excessive excitement, energy, elation, or irritability. Bipolar 1 without episodes of depression, bipolar 2 interspersed with episodes of depression and hypomania. However, this one's very interesting because a lot of times autism is misdiagnosed for bipolar disorder because there's some overlap in the symptoms. That's not always the case. There have people that thought they were bipolar and it turned out it was autism. Because like the aggression, the depression, the tics, the fidgets, which kind of makes sense. And I have a couple friends that have some mania, and they're like, I get so much shit done. They actually say it's really self-empowering with the mania. Same before, if you have any takeaway from this class, regulate your own physical and mental health when you're out there working. Do not work yourself to death. That's not healthy. Taking mini vacations. I know sales, right? I didn't go for like 4 or 5 years ever on a vacation. I'm going next weekend up to Grafton with mom for like to go to the Milwaukee Art Museum. Just a mini vacation. It's a good core memory. All the research on spending money is okay to spend money on vacations. If you take your wife and your small child somewhere just for a weekend, domestic or internationally, that's a good thing. It helps with mental health. If you don't maintain mental and physical health, you can't maintain your job and your life and your work. You need to have a balance. That's a challenge because I understand inflation is really high. We need a lot of money just to survive. But if you work yourself to death, it's bad for mental health. And anecdotally, there was a guy I used to work with at a grocery store that he was studying to be like a doctor and he had a breakdown and he was talking to people I couldn't see in high school, baking groceries. I'm like, what's wrong with Scott? Oh, he was studying to be a doctor. The pressure made him crack. He's like in his mid 20s. Most mental illness, by the way, happens teenager to like 30. If you make it to 30 without a diagnosed mental illness, you're less likely to have one. It doesn't mean you can't have one. It's just statistically, it happens in those age brackets, like either like something like conduct disorder with like a kid, all the way up to like adulthood, which makes sense because the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed to age 20 to 25. So most mental illness doesn't happen after 30, outside of things like dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that. But again, if you give yourself energy and time and physical and mental health, because physical health is related directly to mental health and mental clarity and cognition, your likelihood for these or your ability to manage them, if you have any of these, is much higher and better.
The retail's killing me right now. They just opened up a new store that I'm working at
Mhm.
the week before Thanksgiving, so we're understaffed, so they have us working.
But you probably need the flexibility of something to go to school. I did a lot of retail. Not fun. I did sales for a long time too.
I'm only doing it because I like the discount those products.
Oh,
I've
Yeah.
been saying for a while.
the discount, maybe the commission, right?
No, no, I mean, right now. But when I worked in retail, I just did it on the discount.
Yeah, I mean, they give us 50% off, something like that.
Oh, that's a good deal. Yeah. So this is the range of emotions everybody experiences. When you think about your range of emotions, it's like, are you reacting maladaptively or adaptively? Like, is it disproportional to what's going on? Because that's a problem. Everybody has a right to be fucking pissed. Everybody has a right to be happy. Like, if the situation warrants it, that's fine. That's normal. It's, are you raging? Because that might be a problem. Are you managing the facts or are you pissed off if something, if someone's out of line? That's different. That's okay. We all experience this range, but it shouldn't be the extreme or disproportionate to the event all the time. Then it's mental illness. Call someone on their shit, that's fine. If someone's doing a behavior you don't like, that doesn't mean you have an emotional problem, but it should be proportionate to what's going on. You know, like if your child spills milk, you don't fucking lose it. Like you're the 2-year-old, like he spilled milk. He wasn't trying to spill milk to stress you and your wife out.
Physically rage.
That's not healthy.
Mhm.
Smash the keyboards.
Yeah, that's probably, like I said, like, does the pendulum make sense or is it too far? Like if it's obviously too far, then you may want to get some help. And you do it through therapy and medicine and regulating the chemicals in your brain. But the idea to always be balanced, that's probably not realistic for any of us. We're electrical chemical systems, and like we do have emotional things that get to us in any interpersonal relationship, romantic or otherwise. Oh, my leader, my confidentially, my leader told me that they have concerns about my direct leader narcissist's behavior this week. I can tell you guys that because you guys don't interact at all anywhere close to where I work. I was like, yes, finally they see it. I'm glad they see the narcissism. And then I was told, and
Teachers
I-
that were psychologists.
no, I'm the only
Teachers.
I'm the only psychology teacher there.
There you go.
And then I got informed that I was the only one that can teach most of the genetic classes, and that the chair, who's the narcissist, can only teach English. And I'm like, and she was like, and you could pitch it for English because this is an associate's program. You have a bachelor's in English. I'm like, please just fire her and promote me because I will maybe just stay there. Like, just give me her job. She's like, she's had crummy increases in salary because she's done leadership stuff. She like flipped out because I asked for a bunch of personal days off over email. I need to have a conversation with you right now. And she sent it to HR and my boss's boss, I have a ton of rapport with. So privately, she was like, yeah, that email wasn't cool. And she probably was like, that email wasn't fucking cool. So I was like, yes, they're getting that now. If she could either go to leadership training to be a better leader, I'll stay, or I'm going to keep applying. But she rages. She gets really angry about dumb shit all the time. Or she makes stuff up that's not even a thing. Well, that's accreditation. No, it's not. I know you're program director, but that's not an accreditation thing. I'm working in higher education for 18 years. That's not what that thing is. What?
I don't get to them.
That's not what management and good leadership is. Servant leadership, where you do what, and you guys know if you've been in the military, servant leadership. You get your hands dirty. You do what's right to help those around you. You don't make it a fucking power trip. And I do get angry with her. I do get angry because I'm like, why are you trying to come at me? Like, just let me work. And why am I doing all your reports? Well, that's another story. Yeah.
Yeah, my boss made no sense today.
Yeah.
I got yelled at for being unprofessional because I walked in their room to try to make sure that there wasn't water squirting everywhere, like from one of the tubes. I do dental assisting.
Oh, okay.
And I was making sure that one of the rooms was not like right. And so one of the assistants that was with her, like barely started and doesn't know what she's doing. So I went in there to make sure. And the only reason I said anything was because didn't want the water to be squirting everywhere. And so she got mad that I went in there and like started talking. And so after she got done telling me how unprofessional that was, a few hours later, because we had like a new patient too.
Yeah.
The girl went and wrote a review and like wrote my name and everything in there. And then she sent it to me in a group chat with me and the other doctor that I was working with. She said, "Good job." I was like, bro, what? You were just yelling at me for being unprofessional, and now you're gonna send me a screenshot of a good like review that you just got. I
Wow.
don't know. I was just like, whatever.
Should we go on break? How are we doing, guys? Or should we wait a next stretch? Break? Okay. That's like 10 or so ish after. We'll leave it up now and when we come back. Also quite selfishly, I'm getting dehydrated, so. Okay, you have to go. I am recording. So I can probably post this on YouTube for you guys.
Well, let's see. I don't wanna go.
Your dental assistant, that's cool. Dental assisting, that's cool.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 5 years and I was thinking of maybe being hygiene, like do dental hygiene, but, and or a dentist, but I was like, I don't know. And then I came up with nursing. I mean, don't get me wrong, what I'm doing right now for the, like prereqs, I could do for dental or medical, it doesn't matter. If I
Yeah,
change my mind by next year, I could still try to get into just hygiene, but as of right now, I'm doing all of it for
nursing.
nursing. But they're the same,
Okay.
so I could do it for either or. But I think I'm still gonna do nursing.
Cool.
I mean, I know a lot. I feel like if I were to do like hygiene or dental, like I would be able to, like it would be easier for me,
To do it.
cause I already know everything.
That makes sense.
Besides, obviously actually giving injections and stuff like that. Other than that, I make like temporary crowns, I make retainers, I do the stone models, I take impressions, like I do a lot of stuff. And like I know why and like what's going on. It's just more so knowing like what's in the materials and like what they do for real. Other than that, like if I look at the x-rays, I pretty much can tell the person what the dentist is gonna come in there and tell us.
Maybe dental, maybe have your own practice. It depends what you want to do. But so you want to be happy and you want to earn a good income. See, I get to do both.
Yeah,
And I just was able, yeah, like last 2 weeks, I now make more collectively at my part-time job than my full-time job. It's like 53 to 56% of my income, and it's like 46% of my day job. So
I don't know. I mean, I
You-
thought about it.
you gotta love what you do. And you probably only want to work 4 or 5 days a week. That's what I usually do. I pick up a Saturday once in a while, but
Yeah, I mean, but that's.
like for a
the
few
thing.
hours.
Saying it's 3 days and then the rest you're off, you know what I mean? And I have more leeway. The thing that I thought about with that was the fact that it's regular hours, number one, and then number two, I have to have a chair to be able to do it. And I have to have like the pumps and stuff in the back for like the suctions and whatever. Like if I were to do that, like, that's what I have to do. I have to go and like be somewhere for it. With the nursing, I can kind of do whatever. I can work at the school, I can go to somebody's house, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, nursing's so vast, there's so many different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
You get burnt out of one, there's another one.
I think the other stuff you can do like,
I can even do like, I don't know, yeah, so, I don't know, but
Even just answer phone calls with the nurse.
Yeah. I just feel like I tried to, like, don't get me wrong, like, I like doing dental and all that, but I know that I'm not gonna stay there just being an assistant. Like, if I keep doing that, I have to be a hygienist or a dentist, cause
Yeah.
I'm never gonna make enough just being an assistant.
yeah, you can't.
So I was like, it's either go up and do something like that, but then I thought about like the chair and the hours, like it would be regular hours and I don't know. So that's how I weighed my options by being able to go wherever and like not worrying about like the chair or anything. I just gotta bring myself and whatever I gotta do to help out. But yeah. I can still change my mind, but I don't think I'm going to.
See, for me, there's over 1,000 jobs in psychology at any given time in the country. And there's also consulting.
Let's say nursing too, you can also do travel nursing.
Yeah, and travel nursing, yeah.
I did that.
Let me get water. I'm listening,
No, no, you're
crazy
fine.
thirsty.
She went to Virginia and she was there for 3 months and she extended it for another 3
Yeah,
because
that's
she was
the
like,
case
oh,
with
this is
the-
cool. And she took her cat and everything and they paid for her
Yeah, cause they pay for lodging, for food, per diem, all of it.
a certain amount and then the rest, like, if you go over that, then you gotta pay for it. But she had her apartment over here and everything and I was like, you're paying for where she was there and she could pay her bills over here.
Yeah, my wife's a nurse and, one of her friends, she does nursing in Colorado.
Uh-huh.
She
Like as a temp or she lives there?
She lives there,
Okay.
but picked up a travel job, which is basically like traveling from here to Chicago.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like the traveling gig.
yeah.
But she was making about like $100 an hour for a 12-hour shift. So she, for one shift, because she picked it up, she made $1,200.
Yeah, I was
Like,
gonna
that's
say with
great.
that, yeah, and well, my cousin is a nurse too, and so is my best friend, and like even just here, like this is not with the traveling, but like they have them, they pay them if they're on call or whatever, and they have to remain like 30 minutes within proximity to the hospital, and they have 30 minutes to go in if they call them in, but they're paying them the entire weekend, and then once you get called in, like if you do get called in, then they'll pay you like what you're supposed to get paid, but they're still paying you the whole weekend while you're on call. I don't know. I feel like it would be worth it. How long has your wife been a nurse?
1 year. She's a nursing supervisor right now. She graduated in December of last year from Chamberlain.
And she's already
Supervisor?
yeah.
Yeah, so she was doing like the nursing position for 2 years. They didn't have the nurses.
Uh-huh.
So then once she got her degree, person stepped down from the supervisor role and they're basically like, well, we hire from outside the company, like, do you want the position since you know everything about the position? So we gave it to her.
So was she like a CNA or something before?
Yeah, so she was a CNA, but she was working as a MA with her CNA.
Oh, the medical assistant.
And she was doing that. And then she was able to take some certifications to do some of the things that the nurses could do.
Yeah.
And then basically, they just offered her either a nursing position or the nursing supervisor.
Yeah.
But she's trying to get into a hospital right now because she wants to go to see the anesthesiologist. And you need 1 year of, I think it's like ER experience or whatever it is.
My God, that should be the worst.
So she's trying to do that part-time on the weekends for a year just so that she can get into the program.
It's gonna get traumatized for a little bit. And then oh, that is no. Yeah, I definitely probably would not do like trauma nurse. I mean, obviously,
doesn't
I
want
would
to, she's
do
gonna-
it. I would do it just to get the experience, but then after that, I wouldn't stay in it.
Yeah, originally she wanted to work with kids, but once she did the clinicals for it, she was like, oh, this is too sad. Like, she was like,
Oh, yeah, no, 10 years ago, like right after high school, I said, oh, I'll do neonatal. I said, I don't think I can talk about or tell people their kids died. So then I gave it up and then I ended up working at a daycare for like 5 years and then doing the dental for 5 years. I was like, all right, I'm going back to school for nurse, but maybe not a neonatal.
yeah, I wanted to go to school for like nuclear medicine or something like that, but honestly, only COD offers it in this area. Waubonsee doesn't offer it.
Nuclear medicine?
Yeah, they have that. Even for like MRI tech or CT tech, it's all like college page. Other than that, it's all private. I was like, I'm gonna spend on.
Yeah, bless you. I mean, if you can get it paid for. But I was gonna say, when you're married, then you get no help.
Yeah. Well, but luckily for me with the military, they pay for anything public.
Well, that's the only thing, like, if you're not like in the military or whatever, and you get married, all of your financial aid is gone. Depending on, I guess, unless you both got like the shittiest income ever, other than that. And that's why I'm not gonna get married until after I'm done with all my school.
Other things that make sense.
Other drinks. But it's really like, call it academic freedom. Like how the style is.
Yeah.
Anorexia nervosa, anorexia. Condition with when a person reduces eating to the point that their body weight is significantly lower, less than minimally expected in adults. This is usually associated with a BMI less than 18.5. Now the problem is BMI isn't the best way to measure this. And then if you're interested and want to geek out on this or share some findings, that would be interesting. Pro-ana, aka pro-anorexic websites exist. Now we think about things like freedom of speech or threat to public health. I would encourage someone to see if you can find any of these and see if you can find any absurd diets that are on there to share with the class. Do we block them for free because of threat to public health, or do we not do that because of freedom of speech? Because the freedom of speech was threatened quite greatly with Jimmy Kimmel about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, I kind of feel like.
And Disney lost millions.
Information about how most people agree that anorexia is incredibly dangerous and stupid.
40 to 60% of people recover from anorexia, which means 40 to 60% die from anorexia. So it's just to be out there. If they've pulled them, I say good, because my concerns are the threat to public health. To manage my own mental health and stress today, I went to the doctor, to a specialist, to get what they call a chalazion removed from the eye. It's like a sty, but it's like a sty on steroids. And it's not even painful anymore, but I want it removed because like I have health insurance. I got a referral from urgent care, like, oh no, we don't honor that. That's not from your PCP. Awesome. Oh, and we bought out your PCP. We we bought out your PCP, so we reassigned you to Schaumburg. I'm like, I live in Tinley Park, motherfuckers.
I'm like, someone just did a video where they were calling hospitals to
Yeah.
see how much like a childbirth would cost without insurance. And the average was about like $3,000 to $5,000 was how much like the whole procedure and room costed.
Yeah.
And then they got it quoted with insurance and it was like over $10,000. So it was like less than half to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
Versus with insurance, they were like vamping it up to way more.
So I went,
Because they have their own contracted amounts with all of.
yeah, and the insurance just pays like usually like like with dental, it's like whatever the average is. I'm not sure how they do it with healthcare. I remember getting in a car accident and the bill was $4,800 from the ER for insurance, and then as soon as it for like the guy's insurance because it was his fault that it had hit us. As soon as it was under my medical insurance, it was only $1,200. And I'm like, that's a scam. So they're like, well, it's $200 today instead of 50.
They say you
And
can't
you're-
do fraud, but they're the ones that.
Yeah.
do.
And they double they double billed and I'm like, that's insurance fraud. They're like, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it is. And would you like me to call the insurance commissioner? But today I was really, really pissed off because I burned a personal day to go see the doctors. I was like, maybe she'll do surgery. It's minor surgery. I'm not paying $200 when I have insurance. So it took me 3 hours to call the insurance company and solve it. And I was out with some friends. I didn't want to walk back to the car and be angry with them. So I just sat there and like did some breathing for a few minutes and then because I was super pissed. Like I don't have health insurance to not be able to have health coverage. And yeah. What was that?
So there's a reason why nobody cared when the insurance guy got shot.
Oh,
That's probably real. I mean, I'm not saying we need to be assassinating people because of behavior. I don't think murder's ever right, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree with Bill Brown. Some rich people have just sick rabid dogs and they never have enough money. They really kill people. for it,
Yeah.
And they call it business.
There are people right now that have 10 million in the bank, with about 5% a year, never touch their capital, which is 500,000. If you make 500,000, you can live anywhere in the world comfortably, make that in a year. Did you find a diet you wanted to share with us? Did you geek out on? They pulled them. Okay, cool. Okay. Oh, then they no longer exist. Okay.
Probably filtered it out.
Finally. Okay, good. Pro-Ana websites, Pro-Annex websites, they were out there. I thought they were still out there. I check a lot, but if you're not finding them, maybe they got pulled. I've seen them
He found it in 5 seconds with Bing.
with Bing. Okay. Sorry if there were dog pile for the older folks in the room. Or dog pile, go fetch. It was like meta search engine. Did you find any weird stuff on there you want to tell us about?
Deep into them.
Okay.
I just Googled it, nothing came up, went to Bing, looked it up, there's a whole list.
Okay. Bulimia nervosa person will binge, and then usually purge, like throw it up. Binge eating disorder also involves uncontrolled binge eating, but differs primarily. But binge eating disorder, they're not puking it. Bulimia nervosa, they're puking up the food usually. And obviously, systemically, media and negative body imaging for women is responsible for some of this, I would say. It does happen with men, it just happens more with women. Causes, greatest risk factors appear to be someone being an adolescent or young adult female. Genetic components appear to be significant. Treatment, hospitalization, psychological counseling. Like I mentioned, 40 to 60% of those with anorexia make a recovery, which means 40 to 60% don't. Oh, you want to tell you an absurd diet?
There's like 50.
We go some highlights or a few?
Pretty much what the same is.
Oh, I read about that. You're supposed to drink those kind of water as fast as you can every hour on the hour for 10 days. Water fast.
That can't be healthy.
A patient today was talking about how he went on a water fast for 5 days. He ate zero food. I said, what? Even the doctor said, what? I think she was about to report him to someone.
Yeah.
She was worried after he said that to her. He said, yeah, I did water fasting for the last 5 days. I haven't had any food. He
Eating,
literally said, what?
eating disorders are real.
Like, oh my God.
You think he out there that he didn't properly and he started back up and cooked himself?
What?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
If you go, like, I went 3 days and I had really bad stomach issues when I started eating. 5 days, that man had to be, what's the gut equivalent fraction?
Oh, like hypoglycemic?
I mean, no, like.
There's a gut brain axis thing, like your gut and your brain function together. There's a whole thing with like, they even found some earlier stuff like depression and how like the microbiomes in the gut affecting the brain health. So like what you eat is like kind of important.
You know, they,
But a day, that's not a pint an hour. All need to be hydrated. That we know this, but it's about like 8 glasses a day. Not
I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't agree that we should be eating 3 times a day, but at the same time, like not eating, because if you think about it, back then, before obviously all this stuff existed, like the hunter-gatherers, they were not eating 3 times a day. They were doing it like every other day, you know, and I'm not saying to not eat every day, but
Oh,
I
you're
don't think
right.
we should be eating as much as we do.
It's also portion size too.
like I eat like 6 times a day because of bodybuilding. So,
Yeah.
yeah, my diet is crazy.
Well, I'm just saying, I just feel like it wasn't a thing before until like all this stuff evolved to what it is.
Right.
Like, I don't know. But I don't know about doing no 5 days, maybe 1 or 2, but other than that. Or at least eat once a day.
I know I've skipped breakfast, but breakfast is one of the most important meals of the day. You don't really want to, it messes with your metabolism, I think, now if you skip. So
Evolved to this point.
I like to eat 3 times a day, but if you eat before 7 p.m., that's usually pretty healthy.
30, 40 pounds. And
Wow, you're definitely a lot thinner than that now.
I lost about 80 pounds. And the only thing I did, I didn't change what I was eating. I just changed how often I was eating. Went from
Yeah,
once
the
a day
portion.
to eating 5 times a day.
Oh, okay.
And 80 pounds gone. We're still eating crap, like microwave pizzas.
Oh,
I was like, they tell you actually to treat your body like a machine when you're trying to lose weight. Like the more you fuel your body constantly throughout the day, and the more your metabolism just keeps running. So
yeah.
it's actually better to eat more times throughout the day than to eat less. If you're trying to lose weight.
Or just keep your systems running.
I've been walking a lot. I usually do like 4.5 miles on the treadmill as much as possible. And I usually do like smoothies in the morning. So there's not a lot, like there's protein, but there's not a lot of like heavy stuff. But I've heard that if you eat like 4 to 6 times a day and they're smaller meals, that's supposed to help with like bodybuilding. You do need the protein.
Yeah.
There's one random guy that like, he was an athlete and he would eat like horribly when he do like a marathon. I mean, like cheeseburgers and like just like the worst food ever. But I guess they would test his cholesterol and it was always really fine because he was such a like furnace before the race. And then the race, he would just burn up all the calories. But there's also portion sizes because like we talked about this before, like restaurants, they give you way more than you're supposed to eat.
I think for most people, it's usually about like 60% protein, 30% carbs, and about 10% fats, like lose weight.
So again, what's the percentage?
It's usually about 60% protein.
Okay.
30% carbs, and like 10% fats while you're trying to lose weight.
And some fat, like avocado fat. Costco.
No, I'm saying like, cause aren't you supposed to have like 50%?
So the vegetables kind of
vegetables?
weigh into like your protein and your like honestly it's mainly your protein because there's not many carbs in or calories in the vegetables. So
How do you get all of them
like
every
empty
day?
calories.
What was that?
No, I'm saying they're kind of like empty
Calories,
calories when you
okay.
put it into like the
Like
carbs.
air.
I go to Costco and I get the powdered, all the fruits and vegetables, like 30 of them. And a good vegetarian gets like 20 or 25 a day. And it's got like wheatgrass, acai, like all this stuff. And I always put it in the smoothie.
Well, I stand by it. Frozen vegetables and fruits are superior because you don't got to worry about them rotting.
Yeah. And then I do frozen fruit for
I
like
used to buy
flavor.
all fresh fruit, you know.
Oh, then it goes
so-
bad.
before you-
Yeah.
I agree.
Should I go back? Were you still thinking else, Kurt? Kurt? Okay, schizophrenia. So, severe disorder in which person suffers disordered thinking, bizarre behavior, and hallucinations, and is unable to distinguish between fantasy and reality. Psychotic, the break away from ability to perceive what is real and what is fantasy. Or psychosis. Person not crazy, they're psychotic. Now, something that I do have to give us more of a voice for schizophrenia. So I do have what I would call the schizophrenia lectures. And what they are, they're from Abnormal Psych, and they're things that people wrote that were from people that had schizophrenia. Sometimes as an activity to like just make the lecture more robust, I'll pull that up and then have somebody from the audience read it so you kind of have like a narrative voice of what schizophrenia might sound like if anyone's interested in that. It's one of the most fascinating and one of the most scariest illnesses. We used to have the silent lecture on the other taboo topic because it's taboo. So, um, like if the person's schizophrenic, they walk into a room and everyone's talking like a restaurant, it's like everyone's shouting at them. That's how their sensory experience might be. Schizophrenia, though, can be both positive and negative symptoms. Positive symptoms, like hallucinations, negative symptoms like withdrawal or disengagement. It's not the same as dissociative identity disorder. The conversation that we were having about like your 2-year-old and your military experience and your wife and everything, and no one else could see you, that'd be schizophrenia. If like you weren't a real person, you know. I think it's fascinating, but I think it's one of the scarier illnesses. There are very high suicide rates in schizophrenia because a person's brain, like, they don't know what to do. It's usually starts at birth and usually is diagnosed around like teenage years. And it has to do with how the neurons are formed in the brain and not being formed accurately and having like incorrect connections.
Don't you think that now looking back that Van Gogh possibly has schizophrenia?
I think I might have heard that recently, yeah. Because like he cut off the ear, like his own ear, and then
It was that, and then it was something about like his paintings, and like just like his story of like the people that worked with him and then were around him, like the more like people studied him, his personality, his paintings and everything, that kind of put together that they believe now that he probably had schizophrenia, and back then like they had associated him as crazy or like a drunk or like multiple things.
Yeah.
More probably like he was probably just schizophrenic.
and maybe trying to self-medicate. And there's antipsychotic medications that will help with this sort of thing, but there's not really a cure for schizophrenia. So all we can do is start to just like mask the symptoms. If anyone's ever seen A Beautiful Mind, John Nash, he just decided to ignore what he was seeing.
Yeah, it's a crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's based on a true story. So if you go like this, and I can pose this for you guys if you'd like. This is just sort of like enrichment. So want to read that for us? The idea, like I said, these are like narrative voices of schizophrenia, besides me reading. Or I can, but this is just an example. So a lot of times, so like it's not just my voice. A lot of well say, hey, someone want to read this example of someone with schizophrenia. But this is literally what the beautiful mind was based on. I know you guys are also capable of reading on your own too. It's to give it like that memory of like, oh, this is what schizophrenia might like sound like, you know. So
You can read it.
what?
You say you can read it.
Sure. In 1959, at age 30, John Nash was a widely recognized mathematician and professor at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. While still a graduate in Princeton, he introduced the notion of equilibrium to game theory, which eventually would revolutionize the field of economics and win him the Nobel Prize. As writer Sylvia Nassar details in her biography of John Nash, Beautiful Mind, which was the basis for the Academy Award-winning film, Nash had always been eccentric and had few social skills. By 1959, he began writing letters to the United Nations, the FBI, and the other government agencies, complaining of conspiracies take over the world. He also began talking openly about his beliefs that powers from outer space, or perhaps from foreign governments, were communicating with him through the front page of the New York Times. Later, he described one of his illusions. I got the impression that other people at MIT were wearing red neckties, so I would notice them as I became more and more delusional. Not only persons at MIT, but people in Boston wearing red neckties would seem significant to me. There was some relation to a crypto-communist plot. Nash's wife, oh, we're going down the rabbit hole tonight, ladies and gents, days and thems. Here we go. Nash's wife, Alicia, saw him become increasingly distant and cold towards her. His behavior grew more and more bizarre. Several times, Nash had cornered her with odd questions when they were alone, either at home or driving in the car. Why don't you tell me about it? He asked in an angry, agitated tone, apropos of nothing. Tell me what you know, he demanded. In April 1959, after his threats to harm her became more severe and his behavior became highly unpredictable, she had him committed to the McLean Hospital. There, Nash was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and given medication and daily psychoanalytic therapy. Nash learned to hide his delusions and hallucinations and to behave rationally, although his inner world remained unchanged. Upon his release, Nash resigned from MIT, furious that the institution had conspired in his commitment to the McLean Hospital. After traveling around Europe for 2 years, Nash walked the streets of Princeton with a fixed expression and dead gaze, wearing Russian peasant garments and going into restaurants in his bare feet. He wrote endless letters and made many phone calls to friends and eminences around the world talking numerology and world affairs. Alicia was forced to have him committed again, this time in Trenton State Hospital. After 6 weeks, Nash was considered much improved and was moved to another ward of the hospital where he began to work on a paper on fluid dynamics. After 6 months of hospitalization, a month after his 33rd birthday, he was discharged. Nash appeared to be well for some time, but then his thinking, speech, and behavior began to slip away again. Eventually, he ended up living with his mother in Roanoke, Virginia. His daily rounds extended no farther than the library or perhaps the shops at the end of Grandin Road. But in his mind, he traveled to the remotest reaches of the globe and lived in refugee camps, foreign embassies, prisons, and bomb shelters. At other times, he felt he was inhabiting an inferno, a purgatory, or a polluted heaven. His many identities included the Palestinian refugee, a Japanese shogun, and that even times he was a mouse. After his mother died, Nash returned to Princeton and lived with Alicia. During the 70s and 80s, his illness gradually subsided without treatment. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in economics for his contributions to game theory. He and Alicia lived in Princeton, where Nash worked on his mathematical theories and helped to care for their son Johnny, who obtained his PhD in mathematics and also developed paranoid schizophrenia because there's some genetics to it. Although Johnny has received the newest treatments for his schizophrenia, they only help a little bit, and he is hospitalized frequently. John Nash and his wife died in a traffic accident in 2015. So, we're actually going to cover that. So we have things like persecutory delusions, false persistent beliefs that someone's being pursued by other people, grandiose delusions, false persistent beliefs that one has superior talents and traits. Like, I'm not going to go play for the Bears or the Packers. That'd be a grandiose belief. So, all right, here's another one. Rashad knew things that no one else could understand, which meant there was no one he could trust, not even his closest friends or family. And while he wasn't sure why they were after him, he knew that the CIA, FBI, and local police were working together with an organized street gang to assassinate him for things that he knew. Rashad saw conspiracies at every turn and knew what he had. They had to stay one step ahead of the people who were working to harm him. He was convinced that cars were following him everywhere, and that he went everywhere that he went. His apartment had been bugged by the government. It was listening to every word he said, and that all people he encountered on a daily basis were actors who were part of this plan to drug, kidnap, and kill him. Despite endless conversations with friends who attempted to reason with him and convince him there was no conspiracy, that he was not in danger, his beliefs remained unchanged. His delusional thoughts worsened as a result. Rashad spent long periods of his time in an apartment alone with the doors and windows locked and the curtain shut so no one could see him. He covered those windows and doors in aluminum foil to reduce the transmission of the wiretapping equipment. He installed additional locks and refused to let anyone into his home for weeks. So here's some examples. Persecutory delusion, false belief that oneself or one's loved ones are being persecuted, watched or conspired against by others, belief the CIA, FBI, and local police are conspiring to catch you in a sting operation. Delusion of reference, belief everyday objects, events, or other people have an unusual significance. Belief that a newscaster is reported on your movements, or that a random manhole cover was put there so you could see it. Grandiose delusion, false belief you have great power, knowledge. For example, belief that you're Martin Luther King Jr. reincarnated. Delusions of being controlled, belief that one's thoughts, feelings, or behaviors are being imposed or controlled by an external force. Belief that an alien is taking over your body and is controlling your behavior. Thought broadcasting, belief that one's thoughts are being broadcast from one's mind for others to hear. Belief that your thoughts are being transmitted via the internet against your will. Thought insertion, belief that another person or object is inserting thoughts into your mind. Belief that your spouse is inserting blasphemous thoughts into your mind. Thought withdrawal, belief that thoughts are being removed from one's mind by another person or by an object. Belief that your roommate is stealing all your thoughts while you sleep. Delusion of guilt or sin, belief someone's committed a terrible act or crime they never did. You're responsible for a disaster or a flood or a crime. Somatic delusion, false belief that one's appearance or part of one's body is diseased or altered. Your intestines suddenly became snakes. It's not real. So we talked about that. Tactile, something's happening outside the body. Somatic, something's happening inside the body. And here we go. Another profile. At one point, I would look at my coworkers and their faces would become distorted. Their teeth looked like fangs ready to devour me. Most of the time, I couldn't trust myself to look at anyone for fear of being swallowed. I had no respite from the illness. Even when I tried to sleep, the demons would keep me awake, and at times I would roam the house searching for them. I was being consumed on all sides, whether I was awake or asleep. I felt I was being consumed by demons. Okay, this is another one that someone wrote who was schizophrenic. Things that relate: the town of Antelope, Oregon, Jonestown, Charles E. Manson, the Hillside Strangler, the Zodiac Killer, Watergate, King's Trial in LA, and many more. In the last 7 years, 23 Star Wars scientists committed suicide for no apparent reason. The AIDS cover-up. The conference in South America in '87 had over 1,000 doctors claim that insects can transmit it, AIDS. To be able to read one's thoughts and place thoughts in one's mind without personally knowing it is being done. Realization is a reality of bioelectromagnetic control, which is the thought transfer and emotional control, recorded individual brainwave frequencies of thought, sensation, and emotions. I had major fantasies of suicide by decapitation, was reading up on the construction of guillotines. I had written several essays on the problem of complete destruction of myself. I thought my inner being to be a deeply poisonous substance. The problem, as I saw, it was to kill myself, but then to get rid of my essence in such a way that did not harm creation. Yeah. Nope, that's right there. Is that all of them? I think that. Yeah, I think that's. Nope, here we go. Medicine did not cause sanity, it only made it possible. Sanity came through a minute by minute choice of outer reality, which is often without meaning, over inside reality, which was full of meaning. Sanity meant choosing that reality was not real and having faith that someday the choice would be worth the fear involved and that it would someday hold meaning. I think that might be it, Anya. So hopefully I give you kind of a window into what it might look like for a schizophrenic person. Is that helpful contextually? How they might see the world? So, delusions, false beliefs held by a person who refuses to accept evidence of their falseness. There's a reference, influence, grandeur. I think we walked through all those in the speech and thought disturbances. When these feel unclear, bring it up, or I'll go back to the lecture where I have some more examples. Like I said, I think this one's the scariest. Like, the person doesn't know that this stuff's not real. We have hallucinations, false sensory perceptions, such as hearing voices that do not really exist, but for that person, they're very real. Flat effect, the lack of emotional responsiveness, catatonia, that's either the wildly excessive movement or total lack thereof for movement. Yeah.
And he's schizophrenic. I don't know how, I mean, it's a true story, but of course they get more intense and freaky. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was a freaky documentary or shit like season show that being story.
I've been hearing about it. I haven't seen it yet.
What is it called? It's a game that.
Oh, the Epstein one, yeah, monsters.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Actually, I've heard of that too.
but it was like so long ago that I didn't know how to treat. They just like put people, like in the asylum or.
Yeah.
You know, like, nobody else, I mean, he was very dangerous. So. It was why now they have like pets and treatments. Let's see. Yeah, it was a freaky show.
There's a case, I think, of someone that committed the crime that had dissociative identity disorder, and it was a different personality that committed the crime, and they were able to prove that, and they ended up releasing the guy. I'm like, but it was still the same person. I understand that having the training, but what if it switched back? That person switched back. Positive symptoms, excesses to behavior to occur in addition to normal behavior, hallucinations, delusions, sort of thinking. Negative symptoms, less than normal behavior, or an absence of normal behavior, poor attention, flat affect, or poor speech production. So a lot of times people think that a lot of times when you think about schizophrenia, you really think about, oh, it must be just positive symptoms, but there can be the negative symptoms too. That doesn't always have to involve the hallucinations. Biological explanations focus on dopamine, structural deficits in the brain, like how it's basically built, like at birth, when your brain's and before birth, inflammation and genetic influences. You sure what?
um, The noise,
Oh,
the
the no.
car,
Oh,
there was just,
oh, just now, like outside. Okay, I thought you were.
you know
mean,
what I was saying, right?
The
now,
noise you could hear.
The car that is popping right now.
I don't know if they do it for students, but I know for employees, there's some cheap, like, maintenance stuff for cars here.
You said what?
There's some cheap stuff at Waubonsee for cars, for like the auto department, but I don't know if it's just for employees or for employees and students. So I got an email because like my other car needs an oil change and brakes, and I was like, can I bring it in? But they haven't really given me a day. They just sent an email and said that
To the students that are learning. that
they
are learning.
probably are.
You go to
That's-
Sugar Grove to the
That's fine.
garage there.
That's fine. If it's free or cheap labor,
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'd rather not spend money at Firestone. No, they're certified by a master. There's a master of mechanic who's a professor watching them. It's unlikely. I've done it at COD and it's been fine. I got like shocks and a bunch of stuff like a year ago. It was like $500 out the door. I bought the shock separately from like, O'Reilly, but it was like a fraction of the cost. So
Yeah.
what we'll do is we'll probably wrap this up. We'll talk about stress a little bit if we have time. I think what I'm going to assign so that we'd have, this is our last class, is I have a stress inventory that I can post or is already posted in the files. And the idea is to answer the questions honestly. If they happened in the last year, you check mark them. You get a total score and a tally, and then you have a sense of your risk of heart attack or stroke in the next 2 years based on how high your stress score is. The idea would be around robin of your score, not necessarily the individual stuff, because there's like some highly personal questions on it. It'd be the idea to like have a sense of the accumulation of what your stress level actually looks like and to share that. So that way you answer the stuff honestly. So I'm not asking you guys to share like I checked this box, that box, because there's like some very personal questions there, but if you answer it honestly, you could have a good assessment. I'm pretty sure it's already in there and or I can post it. I mean, I'll talk about it again towards the end, but then I think because we're wrapping up this and then segueing into stress, we'd either talk about it and or you would know what it is. Do on Sunday. It's literally like checking a bunch of boxes. And again, I'm not asking to see how you got to that score. I'm just asking for like, what is your score? Maybe email me your score from doing the activity. And then we can talk, if you want to talk about stressors, you can, but I'm not expecting anybody to talk about anything that's too personal because it does actually some pretty personal stuff.
What is it?
I think it's like stress test. Or I would type the word stress into files and it should come right up. And then I would say email that, like I said, not necessarily like what you checked, just like your score. And please, everybody we'll use the honor system, but like really do it and don't just email me a number. If you email me what you checked, I would of course keep it confidential. I'm not expecting anybody to overshare or share anything they're not comfortable sharing. I'm just saying that self-realization, having a sense of what your stress level is would be important. So if you don't see it, or if you're looking, you can tell me. Or maybe you're still taking notes, Emma.
Stress test inventory.
Stress test inventory.
Stress and health.
Stress test inventory. That one. Yeah, if the thing happened in the last year, put a check next to it. if it happened in the last year, and those are the stress points, and then total them up. Yeah. And then I think there's scoring on there, and or I'll give you guys the scoring next, either in the announcement or next class period, in terms of the severity of your own stress. And speaking of that, we have the stress vulnerability model. That's what causes things like mental illness. How vulnerable are you to mental disorder under certain types of emotional distress, such as schizophrenia or anything? Stress is a silent killer. It gives us cortisol, which helps us to gain weight, which is not healthy. Cortisol was used as the fight or flight response when we were a little bit more primitive, but now we have way too much stress in our lives. You're probably not going to have zero stress. That's probably not realistic. But try to greatly reduce it. That's why I'm encouraging everybody, take vacations, spend time with your family and your loved ones. Don't just work yourself to death.
13 more stress points.
That's still a low number. 100 is kind of high. And these are an average, by the way. And then I think what we'll do for our last class will be to kind of walk through that, as well as all the different types of ways we can look at stress and aggression. And then it'll be bittersweet, guys. Gals, theys, thems, because I will see some of you again. Some of you I'll never see again. But if you all need something, like a letter of recommendation or some sort of professional help down the road, you can reach out to me. My phone number's not changing. My email's not changing. I don't plan on ever quitting any community college ever because they're simply just too nice to us. They're just amazing. So, of course, any reference would be you being honest. So, like, if you contributed to class, I'll talk about that. If you're never here and constantly late, that would be different. But if you're like, hey, I think I did a pretty good job in Dr. Math's class and you need help, I mean, I got one student in Columbia from COD writing a letter of recommendation. And I'm sure he had a couple other ones, but I was a factor. So just want to try to pay it forward and help y'all be super successful. Yeah. Oh,
Teacher evaluation.
No, I
Yeah.
did it already.
I'd really like if you guys do the teacher evaluation. I hope that y'all say positive stuff. I encourage you to be honest. Okay. So if I didn't crush it, then of course say that. But that helps me because my deans read those. My dean reads those. And if you put it on rate my professors for Waubonsee, you're helping people behind you register for the class.
If we do.
If you rate my professors.com and you type what your thoughts are, students behind you that are registering for the class will look it up.
Oh, yeah.
That helps me.
Good for the teachers that I was gonna
Yeah.
try to get next.
I did it when I signed up for this class. You popped up like multiple different times.
I have,
Different colleges.
yeah, I teach them all. I teach at like 6.
Yeah.
So
They could, what could
if
be-
you screenshot it to me, I'd be willing to add a little bit of extra credit towards the end to give you guys some padding, but it's not going to be a crazy amount because I want you guys to be honest.
Can't get it back. How am I supposed to see it?
My professors.
Oh, you said do it on radar?
I'll take either or both, or maybe I could do a little bit more if you do both. But I'm thinking like 15, 20 points. I'm not like crazy amount, like enough to like maybe incentivize you guys giving feedback, but not like fundamentally rate a whole letter grade because that doesn't seem fair for extra credit, if that makes sense.
After reviews, are like, what did you do this?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody gets an A, like, no, I can't do that. But it also helps if I'm like applying for a job when they find me. When you write about your experiences, because I can't always pull the confidential information. My dream is to work at a community college full time like this one or COD or Harper. So I'd have more time off, get paid better. And not because of the company that I'm in, but I do enjoy you guys because I think it's the ages and the diversity. Everyone's super mature. There's rarely behavioral issues. You guys usually engage and make it very exciting. I can't say that happens with every single group of students I sit in front of, but I can definitely say that comfortably in front of the community college. Maybe because like You guys are responsible. You all have jobs. You're not great. Not everybody in here is super, super young that lives with their parents. There's a nice blend of people. I think that builds the culture of the class and makes it fun. And we have experiences like guys that have been in the military and sales guys and bad bosses and all these things that help make the class more robust. So, but if you're going to do a screenshot, please email because it's really hard to find it if you text it to me. And no matter what you write, I will give you the extra credit. Like I don't want it to feel obligatory. I don't want you guys to do it if you want to. And I don't want to bias what you write. I just want it to be honest.
It's like writing it
It's
down.
right, trash.
No, like ratemyprofessors.com and or the reviews that you got sent from, and then send me a screenshot so like I know you've done it.
So that I was trash.
Yeah, what do you got? Yeah, just the score. I don't, it asks some highly personal questions. You don't have to share that stuff with me. I just want the score, but I want you all to really do it. Don't just make up a number because that's not going to help you. And then what we'll do is we'll either all talk about our score, just like, hey, I have this score, and then some coping mechanisms as round robin, and or I'll just talk about the score and you can like self-reflect and be like, hey, I need to lower my stress, etc. There's something called eustress, which is actually positive stress, we'll talk about next week. A tiny bit of stress is actually healthy. Like the amount of stress where you like squashed on the floor with your foot, that's okay. And much more than that is a bad idea. And that's an average, by the way, the 13 points that you mentioned, Kurt. They had people rate what stress looks like. Vacation is a very low stress item. Yeah, there's some.
I was gonna say.
If you-
express on
I have
sometimes.
I have TSA pre-check in global entry, so I have less stress points probably on vacation. I don't have them screwing with me and patting me down crazy. And I just walk back into the US when I come back. It takes like 30 seconds to 2 minutes to get back into the United States instead of 90 minutes like fucking cattle. Personality disorder. We have like 4 slides. I'm gonna try to finish them before we call it a day. Personality disorder, a disorder in which a person adopts a persistent, rigid, maladaptive pattern of behavior that interferes with normal social interactions. Cluster A seen as odd or eccentric, paranoid, schizoid, schizotypal. Cluster B, dramatic, emotional, erratic, antisocial, borderline, histrionic, or narcissistic. So I had a histrionic house guest about a year ago. It was a couple, husband and wife, family friends, a little bit older than me, a little younger than my mom. Friends with both of them, kind of family friends. And they didn't really have, like, his wife had a place in Texas, but he was working for UPS and staying with family. His wife put a frozen loaf of bread in the plastic in the microwave to defrost and created a small fire and thought it was funny. Well, at one point, this is to explain like what histrionic personality disorder looks like. At one point, I was like, "Hey guys, you crash in the living room. That's fine because I have a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, but the second one's like an office. So like, just sleep in the living room. You know, there's got some couches, whatever. I'm gonna get ready. I'm gonna monopolize the bathroom in the middle of everything. Because I was like, was gonna, the morning, the ritual, the night ritual, like brush teeth, whatever. His wife just randomly decides to jump in the bathroom and take a shower when I left the bathroom for like 3 minutes. Like that's not appropriate behavior. Like, hey, are you done in the bathroom since you pay all the bills and this is a place you rent? That would have been appropriate behavior. But just total disregard, not narcissism, histrionic personality disorder.
How does someone that's a narcissist find out that they're a narcissist?
They usually don't.
Is there like a way, like, is there like somewhere you can go to like see, like, evaluate?
You can totally be tested for narcissist, but you don't want to tell a narcissist they're a narcissist because it usually pisses them off and they're usually not self-aware because they like
What are you talking about?
so Narcissus is a Greek mythology figure, and the tale of Narcissus is that he found a reflection pool, and because Narcissus was so good looking, he fell in love with himself and died of starvation. That's where the naming convention comes from. And we can go a few minutes early, guys. Stop there. We'll walk through the last couple slides and then stress. But have an idea what your stress level is, whether you share it or not. Email it to me by Sunday. Just checking those boxes on that stress score.
I never heard that story before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was.
I can't even wait